So despite not being much of an anime fan, I actually went out and saw Dragon Ball Superhero. Obviously, this was requested. Like I said, I'm not an anime fan, like, at all. I don't think I've ever watched anything anime. So, yeah, unless it's like an adaptation or something. Yeah, I'm that guy. But this was requested several times, so I thought, you know what? Why don't I go check it out? And it seemed to be getting pretty good buzz, so I thought I'd give it a watch. And I do find it funny that the fact that there was a movie about Idris Elba fighting a lion that I don't want to see, and yet I decided to watch the anime movie. And it's also funny that Dragon Ball Superhero ended up beating it at the box office last weekend. Because Beast was essentially a remake of Ghost in the Darkness, a movie I have seen and actually thoroughly enjoyed. But I had no interest in this glorified remake. And again, I didn't have much interest in this movie, but it did get requested, and I saw the trailer, and I'm like, this doesn't look too bad. So I decided to go out and see it. Now, I know virtually nothing about Dragon Ball. People, I don't know, all of you are gonna hate me for this, but the only thing I've seen of Dragon Ball was the shitty live-action Dragon Ball Evolution. Yeah, I'm that guy. So that's all I've seen of Dragon Ball. So unless there was a reference made to something in that movie, I didn't understand stuff. Because there was a lot of stuff in this movie that happened that didn't make a ton of sense. I didn't know very many of the characters. Like, I, of course, knew Goku, I knew Piccolo, I knew Bulma. Gohan is Goku's son, apparently, because named him after his grandfather. That I figured out pretty quickly. So I knew some of the characters, but again, it was only the characters that were in that shitty Dragon Ball Evolution movie. And so I don't know anything about any of the series, from the original to Dragon Ball Z to Dragon Ball Super to the assortment of movies and shows that have spawned throughout the last, like, 20, 30 years. I don't know how long those shows have been running, but my point is that I'm not an anime fan, I'm not a Dragon Ball fan, but I actually thought this was okay. I didn't think it was a masterpiece, like I've been seeing some people say it's like a masterpiece, and I'm guessing the people who loved this movie, like, really loved it, were probably Dragon Ball fans. So me not being a Dragon Ball fan already kind of has it to the point where, okay, I'm probably not gonna like this as much as other people are. But I still had a relatively fun time with this movie. It's definitely better than than a lot of the other schlock I've been seeing the last 2 months, so there's that at least. So I'm gonna end up keeping this one brief because I do actually have other stuff to do. Like, there's stuff I'm seeing and stuff I gotta do, so I'm gonna keep this one pretty brief, especially since, again, I don't have much to talk about. I know I said that in both of my last two reviews and ended up eating my words, but this time I'm serious. Not only is it not a very long movie, it's only about an hour 40 with credits. I think without credits, it's probably roughly an hour 33, maybe? I'm just guessing here. So, yeah, so there's most of the stuff in this movie is pretty good. Like, I'll start with the easy one. The animation looks fantastic. Like, the combination of 2D and 3D animation works really well. It's all smooth and fluid. The character models look great. The action sequences are a lot of fun. So yeah, that was a given. And like I said, the action sequences are pretty good. I do think the last fight kind of came out of nowhere, but I'll get to that in a second. And it did kind of drag for a while. Like, it was like a 20-minute fight, and I think it could have been cut in half. Like, I get Dragon Ball's known for its, like, really big, really long fights, but I think that last one kind of dragged on a little bit, because the weird thing is, it's like the fight that Gohan and Piccolo have with the two superheroes, the androids, it almost kind of felt like that was the climax, but there was still another 40 minutes left. So that kind of weirded me out already. I'm like, this kind of feels like this should be the climax. Why are we getting this only an hour into the movie? So, yeah, the plot is relatively thin. It's like the Red Ribbon Army, like, again, I don't have any knowledge of the anime, so I don't really know. They give, like, the briefest of backstories. I mean brief, like a sentence long in a voiceover. So, like, really all I know is that they're an evil corporation / army that were taken down by Goku. That's about all I got out of it. But that's kind of all you need for an anime movie. So, and they get this scientist to make some androids called superheroes, well, we call them superheroes. They're called Gamma 1 and Gamma 2, I'm pretty sure that's what they're called. And they use it to essentially take down Goku, Bulma, and everybody else. Basically, they're pretending to be the heroes while being the villains. That's essentially what they're doing here. They're tricking the scientists into thinking they're the good guys. And I do kind of like that the androids, once they kind of, like, during the fight, Piccolo and Gohan kind of convince them that they're working for the bad guys, and it honestly doesn't take thankfully, it doesn't, like, drag forever like a lot of other movies do. It's like, no, you're working for the bad guys. Like, no, I'm not. That would probably go for, like, 50 minutes. But they figured it out pretty quickly. Like, yes, they had you kidnap a child. What heroes do that? That's pretty much a line. It's like, what good guys kidnap a child to get what they want? So yeah, that's kind of... So yeah, I'm glad that part was brief. The voice acting's all pretty good. I don't recognize anybody, because again, I don't watch anime, so I don't recognize any of the dubbing actors. Because I definitely saw this dubbed. Thank God my theater had this one dubbed, because I don't speak Japanese, like, at all. Man, is there not anything else to talk about? Like I was talking about with the final fight, they end up having to fight this, like, big, monster-looking android, and it just kind of comes out of nowhere. Like, it wasn't teased ahead of time. So it just kind of comes out of nowhere, where just all of a sudden they need to fight this big monster-looking thing, and like it looks cool, and the fight is alright, but it just kind of came out of nowhere. And like I said, that fight dragged on for too long. It was, like I said, it was like 20 minutes, and it just felt like it was repeating. It felt like they kept repeating the same thing during the fight. Like they would keep trying to do the same tactics, and it wouldn't keep working until the finish. And there's also just some, like, weird moments. Like, during that final fight, like, the android, like, shoots a laser, like, the big one shoots a laser, and Piccolo ends up losing his arm. But, like, 5 minutes later, his arm is already regrown back or something. Like, what was the point of him losing his arm in the first place? Because it's not like they really, like, showed it. I just spotted it. Like, it's not like they really made a close-up to, like, really paid attention to it. So I'm kind of wondering why it was there why that detail was there in the first place. But again, this is just, if you like Dragon Ball, you'll definitely like this. Like, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't. If you're not a fan of Dragon Ball, you'll still probably have a decent enough time. I had a really shitty theater experience. Like, the people in the theater, like, I hate when people cheer and applaud at stuff. Like, when one of them goes, like, extra Super Saiyan or whatever the fuck it is, like, at the end, they started, like, applauding and cheering. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Even, because I have always had my theaters never clap and cheer, and I love that. I hate when people do that at the theater. I know there are other people that like it when people jump around like monkeys in the middle of the theater, but I hate that. And thankfully, even when I went to movies like Infinity War, or Endgame, or Spider-Man No Way Home, there was nobody jumping around clapping and cheering like absolute monkeys. They stayed silent, and that's good. That's what I want. If you want a theater full of people jumping around like apes, fine, but that's not what I want. And thankfully, even with something like as big as Avengers Endgame, people still knew that we need to just sit here and watch the movie so we're not disturbing other people. Because when I went to those movies, it was packed. Because I went opening weekend for both Infinity War and Endgame, so they were, like, fully packed. Like, there was maybe a few seats that were empty. Maybe. But I'm getting off topic, so yeah. If you like Dragon Ball, you'll probably like this. You've probably already seen it if you like Dragon Ball, because it made bank. It was number one at the box office last weekend. It probably won't be this weekend. I think the re-release of No Way Home will probably beat it out. But it's still impressive that it ended up beating Beast. Like, Beast doesn't look like that good of a movie. Like I said, it's just a glorified remake of Ghost in the Darkness, which is just an okay movie anyway. So it's like, why would I watch this? But I had a decent enough time with this movie. I'm giving Dragon Ball Superhero a C+. Still haven't gotten a movie that's over C+ since the fucking chicken hair movie. I need someone to explain it to me like I'm 5. Why was the chicken hair movie good? I'll never know. So, yeah, that's all I got for this movie. And now I've got to, and tomorrow I'll probably have an August ranking, and I have a special review coming up tomorrow, too. Either tomorrow or maybe the next day, depending on how early I get the ranking out. So I'll see y'all then. Bye.